I'm sorry,
with that.
or is he the 10th best player on the team? Ask Cam Newton.
You sound like a Niner fan.
Is Cam Newton now, like, when someone...
Oh, dude,
You
we
know when
shouldn't
someone-
even bring his name
No,
up
you're
on
right,
the
but
show.
you know when someone's such a dope, they have to double down?
Maybe it's not him. Maybe there's something under that hat he's wearing that's controlling the things
Is he the first Neuralink recipient?
That ridiculous hat. Anyway, again, we're live from the TireRack.com studios, Covino and Rich. And later on in the show, what does the NFL want to happen so bad during the Super Bowl? We'll let you know. Plus, regrets in sports, Pete Carroll, Odell Beckham Jr., lots of stories to get to. But look at the time. Let's go it. Let's throw it back. Let's do it.
There's a certain...
Yeah!
What we gonna do right here is go back. Back into time.
Throwing it back for a Thursday. Old school when 50 hits. At 50 after, CNR give you the time capsule topic, and we reminisce together.
Ooh, the time capsule topic. What's funny is that Danny G sent me a screenshot, and my first response was, dude, she's hot. And he's like, dude, look at the story, not the girl.
Her name is Tina Trahan. Trahan?
Well,
Trahan.
whoever she is.
Yeah, Trahan.
Whoever she is, she's smoking hot, but she is the...
I'll tell you who she is. She's an art collector and property owner.
Well, she is the realtor that purchased the Brady Bunch house out here in Los Angeles. And Spot also said that. He goes, dude, she's a looker.
Yeah. Can I make the story clear, though?
Yeah.
I watched the whole series. The Brady Bunch house is like a town away from where we broadcast, in Studio City somewhere.
Yeah.
And we've been here for years, and I've never gone to see it, and it's such an iconic sort of house, right?
Now we have a reason to go.
Well, HGTV a few years ago bought the house back, and they did this whole special, and the whole cast of the Brady Bunch was involved in it, and they redid the whole thing to look like the original house.
Am I wrong in saying at one point Lance Bass really wanted to buy it?
Yes.
And they swooped out from under him?
So HGTV ran with this whole thing where they redid it to make it look exactly the way we saw it on television. And since then, I think people have been going there, taking pictures, like sort of a museum-like thing.
I think Dan Byer went trick-or-treating there, right?
You couldn't go inside. Like they weren't tours given.
Right.
That's what stunk about it.
I think there were ways, because I had friends go there somehow. Maybe you had to know somebody.
Is it just a nice ranch house in Studio City on an off street or like a side?
Yeah, it's right off of Tahunga, actually.
So it's not far. Everybody knows it, and apparently this looker, Tina Trahan, bought it for $3.2 million after the renovation. Now, there's pros and cons to this, too, because she's saying this might be a bad investment because that demographic's getting older. So a lot of people won't even care about that.
Yeah.
So we don't know. But it got us thinking.
It's like when you see on Sirius XM, they've moved the 50s and 60s channels like off the main air. They're like on channel 70-something now.
It sold for like $2.5 million under what it was listed for, actually. Under the value.
So it didn't even...
Yeah.
So that
it had been sitting on the market for a little while. Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, she bought it like as an art piece of sorts.
Yeah,
Like,
she said she's a super fan.
She's a super fan. It's like a work of art to her. Might be a bad investment because who's going to want that? But it got us thinking. When you think of the Brady Bunch house, I think we all wanted to pose on those steps, right? With that little disco backdrop. We all thought that Michael Brady was the best architect known to man.
I remember thinking, like, that seems like a cool job.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think the best sitcom house was? Like where
the one that you would want to live in?
Yeah. When you think back to all your favorite shows growing up.
Yeah, we were in San Francisco to check out a Niners game a year ago. We went to the Full House house, and Covino, it was an overcast, muddy day. Covino stepped in a mud puddle with a new pair of Jordans on.
I did. Yeah, ruined. Yeah. My whole foot sank in.
Oh, but yeah, so the Full House house is famous.
Very famous.
Uncle Jesse had to console you.
So, your thoughts at 877-99 on Fox. What house would you want to live in? Of all the sitcoms that you watched growing up, we'll take your feedback next right here on Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports.
Hey, it's Covino and Rich. Winter is coming. Heavy rain, sleet, snow, and ice. Are your tires up for the challenge? In the season's worst conditions, winter tires are a game changer. They elevate traction, control, and confidence.
Tire Rack sells only the best, like the Michelin X Ice. Go to TireRack.com/sports. Tell them what you drive. Your tires will ship fast and free to you or one of over 10,000 recommended installers.
TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Doctors take Field of Greens for their own health. Here's Dr. Ryan Green to explain.
We're like you, too much fast food, not enough exercise. That's why I take Field of Greens. The fruits and vegetables in Field of Greens support my heart, lungs.
Communications in that fourth quarter that we got.
Boy, what a night at Moda Center. Damian Lillard back in town, but the Trailblazers spoiled the homecoming with a 119-116 victory in their best game of the season. After the game, Coach Bill pleased with his squad.
You know, at the end, we had a lot of miscommunications in that fourth quarter that we got to clean up defensively. But, man, even when we did, we just stayed together. No finger pointing, no body hanging there. We just stayed together.
I've got more on that coming up on the Rip City Drive. The Trailblazers back at it tomorrow night. They're in Denver for the first of two against the Nuggets. Tip-off at 6, game day at 3. It's all here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. A day after the Seahawks named Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald their new head coach, the Washington Commanders have hired Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to be their new head coach. Join me and Dwight a week from Friday, February 9th at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road at I-5 and 217. Chilling for a cause. We'll be in the cooler for 3 hours raising money and awareness for ALS Northwest.
First for the visiting Milwaukee Bucks, who enter tonight's game with a record of 32 wins and 15 losses, good for second place in the Eastern Conference. On the floor tonight for the Bucks, starting at guard, 6'4" from Florida State, number 5, Malik Beasley. At guard, 6'3" from Weber State, wearing the letter O, Damian Lillard. Center, 7'1" from Stanford, number 11, Brooke Lopez. Forward, the 7-footer from Greece, number 34, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's how it sounded last night at Moda Center. Mark Mason was terrific. I really thought the fans and the organization were first class in how they embraced Dame's return. And I thought Lillard was all class before the game, during the game, and after. Being in a Bucks uniform didn't change everything that we love about him. Damian Lillard is real, he is loyal, and he loves Portland. He has embraced the Northwest, and in my mind will go down as the most beloved Trailblazer of all time for the reasons I just mentioned and the fact that he's an ice-cold killer on the court and was in a Trailblazers uniform. You know, Dame is a rare combination of elite talent with the character and charisma to be a true cornerstone of a franchise. He's just cut from a different cloth. So if you were at the game last night or you watched it, I would love to get your take on how everything went down with Dame and what were your emotions like as you were taking all of it in. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. We'll hear from Dame a little bit later in the show with some of his post-game comments about being back in Portland at Moda Center playing a game against his former team. But I want to focus on the Blazers for a moment and give them some props that are due. You know, Chauncey Billups takes a lot of criticism from fans, but last night he outcoached Doc Rivers. It's probably not hard to do considering it's Glenn, but he outcoached Doc Rivers. The Blazers are a young team going through a rebuild, but last night their youth and their key veterans powered them to victory. And as I've said since the beginning of the season, this year, it's not about wins and losses. Not in year one of a rebuild. It's about the following. And number one is player development. You know, primarily this applies to the young guys on the roster right now. How are the young guys coming along? Can we see growth in their play based on what the coaching staff wants them to do? And take a look at the game last night in the victory over Milwaukee, which is, by the way, their best game of the year thus far, obviously. Last night, Tamani Kamara flying around all over the place, playing tough defense, playing with energy, grabbing key rebounds, attacking Dame, and was a key cog in stopping the Bucks on their final possession when they had a chance to win the game. Love the contest on Brook Lopez. Jabari Walker in year 2. He's played his way into the starting lineup as a second-round pick. He's starting to thrive. He knows his role, embraces it, and has done everything the coaches want. Most importantly, he's freed up Jeremy Grant to do what he does. And Grant last night was terrific with some of his big shot making. Shaedon Sharpe is out right now with the abdominal strain, but he's shown progress at times this year. They discovered Duop Reef, and he's been a major part of the rotation. Scored 10 points last night in the win. After a rocky start to the year, and it was rocky, Scoot Henderson is coming along. And last night might have been his best game. I thought that first half was one of the main stories of the game. Scoot was electric. He wasn't afraid. He was in attack mode. Scored 15 points last night in 22 minutes. I mean, it's obvious that the coaching staff is doing a great job with the young guys on the roster with their growth and development. I think the other key when evaluating the team right now is talent acquisition. This is a work in progress as Joe Cronin continues to move forward, but following the Dame trade, he now has multiple veteran pieces, tons more cap flexibility that he can utilize and move out for picks and young players when the time is right. And the best part is right now there's no rush. And for the first time in years, the Blazers have assets, they have flexibility with which they can use to improve the team and shape it the way that they want to. I think after that, the next factor for evaluating is Coach Billups and his staff. Are they getting the guys to play the way he wants them to? Well, take a look at the last couple of weeks. Passes per game are way up. The assist totals are climbing. You probably noticed the ball movement last night. They had 26 assists, 23 going into the fourth. They had 29 in the win over Philly. They're moving the ball and moving bodies to create better shots. And with that, we've seen a better shooting percentage, better offense. And what I love about last night, 26 assists, but just 11 turnovers. They played a clean basketball game. I mean, after a slump, we're starting to see them continue to grow defensively with their communication and having a better understanding of where they need to be. And most importantly, through all the difficulties, the team hasn't quit on Billups, and they continue to play hard on most nights. I think Billups is laying a foundation for his culture. Now, that one is difficult to evaluate, because we're not in the locker room, but they sure seem to be playing together. And even Billups said it last night that even when it got tough late, they stayed together. Simons is having a solid year. Grant's playing the best basketball of his career. And DeAndre Ayton now, that he's back and healthy, 5 straight games of excellent production. So props to the staff for their work. I think one of the keys for this team is health. Now that most of their guys are back, and they've settled on a starting lineup with Grant, Jabari, Ayton, Ant, and either Brogdon or Shaedon, with Scoot coming off the bench, we're seeing some continuity. Guys understand what their role is going to be night to night, and this is all going to promote better basketball. No one likes to use injuries as an excuse, but in my mind, in certain situations, they're absolutely a viable excuse. We still have a long way to go, but we are seeing growth, and that's what is most important to me right now with this team and where they're at. And I will continue with what I've said I would do. Take it game by game throughout the entire season. And then when the season is over, I think we can all step back and evaluate. How are the young guys? How they developed throughout the year? What about the culture? Are the guys playing the way that the coaching staff wants them to play? And with all that, have a clearer picture on Billups, his staff, the young guys, and the overall direction of the team. I thought they would win last night because of their recent play with the ball movement and the continuity that we're seeing now with the lineup and finding themselves defensively again. And that's what they did. They went out and took advantage of a team right now in Milwaukee that's searching for themselves defensively. The Blazers won the game, but they really outplayed the Bucks throughout the night. They outplayed the Bucks. Chauncey outcoached Doc Rivers. The scene was awesome. That was a great game, and it was really cool to see Scoot get off on that stage. No fear. None whatsoever. And that's terrific. But what it reminded me of last night, and I think it was Michael Shacker or someone that I was sitting next to, they're like, it hasn't been like this in this building since the last playoff game. And they're right. We need more moments like that we can come together and enjoy and talk about and be right there in the middle of that building when the atmosphere is off the charts. It had the feel of a playoff game. The emotion was there, the energy was there, and it turned out to be a terrific regular season NBA basketball game. But I want more moments like that. It just makes me crave that type of scene, that type of situation. And Coach Billups afterwards very proud of the way his guys competed.
Man, the atmosphere was awesome, obviously, and we knew that would be the case. I just didn't think the moment was too big for our team. We just played so hard. We played together. We continue to get better just playing for each other. We didn't come unraveled. At the end, we had a lot of miscommunications in that fourth quarter that we got to clean up defensively. But, man, even when we did, we just stayed together. No finger pointing, no body hanging there. We just stayed together. And I just think we're learning so much, the only way that we can truly compete is if we do it together. And as I tell them all the time, like, age, that stuff don't matter. We all professionals. We all are supposed to be here. We earn the right. Like, we should be able to lock in and just play the right way and see what happens. And I thought tonight was a great example of that.
Well, they certainly did. They played well. Good coaching, good execution. The Blazers were terrific last night. And I was gripping because with just over 17 seconds on the clock and the Blazers holding a 1-point lead, everyone thought that Dame was going to get the ball. Everybody. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's almost like it's been scripted. Dame's going to get the ball, put up a dagger, game over, Bucks win. And Brook Lopez was able to get the ball to Dame, but the Blazers defense forced it back out of his hands as he made a cross-court pass to Lopez, who hoisted a three, and he missed. Blazers grabbed the rebound. Grant gets fouled. They hit 2 free throws. The Bucks are out of timeouts. They put Giannis on the free throw line. Game over. Game over. And I'm still baffled. I'll never understand this in basketball. And I've been wondering this ever since I was a youngster. How can certain basketball players who are really skilled, like some of the greats, Giannis, we see it with LeBron James, how is it that some of these guys, Shaquille O'Neal, why do they stink at the free throw line? Why does Giannis not make around 85 to 90% of his free throws? I'll never understand that. Ever. And I think it comes down to practice. I'll never forget that Sports Science where they grabbed that guy with the floppy hair, Sasha Vujacic, who played for the Lakers and Kobe. He was on Sports Science, and he put on different gloves, like these gigantic, costume gloves for like a werewolf or something, and he was still stroking them in. Then they put him on stilts to where he became like a 7-footer. With the gloves on, he was stroking them in. And that's because he's practiced so many free throws in his life that the motor memory skills are there. So regardless of what gloves he's got on or if he's on stilts, the result is the same. It didn't matter. Didn't matter. And a lot of times you'd hear that with Shaq, like, whoa, he's a big guy with big hands. Doesn't matter for Sasha Vujacic on stilts with the giant gloves. Didn't matter. You're still stroking them in. It was great. The fans were counting down the seconds for Giannis to make sure he shot his free throws within time. And you could tell he was gripping at the line. A player like that with that much talent should not be gripping at the foul line. And Dame said he was gassed. Take a listen to this. Dame talked about how draining last night was.
Overall, it was just, more than anything, it was just kind of draining. You know what I mean? Just everything around it and what it was. I ain't going to say I'm happy that it's over, but I'm just like, just dealing with everything that came with it. I've been asked a million times, like, what is it like being back in Portland and how do you feel and all of this stuff. But I really enjoyed being back, but just the whole spectacle of it is just, just a little bit draining,
Wow. It was draining. I'm drained. That emotion last night took it out of me. And just so you know that even though I'm in the media and I get to cover games and I enjoy it, I was slumming it like the rest of you fans last night. I got done with the pregame show and drove into Portland, got through the traffic. The media lot where I have a pass for, totally full. Like no parking spots. None. Zilch, zero, nada. And then my backup spot up there by the public school building for Portland Public Schools, the dude was out, probably because Dame's in town, looking for dollars. I didn't have any cash. So I ended up driving up interstate, up there by Widmer Brewing, and I parked and walked in. I got done with the postgame show just before 1 o'clock in the morning, and I walked out of Moda and started the trek up interstate, and I'm like, I'll probably die here. Got to my car, got home, got to bed, a few hours of sleep, got back up, and right back at it. Just burning it at both ends. That was awesome last night. All right, Rip City Drive. A lot of things we got going on today. Chris Burkhart's going to stop by. He was at the game last night. We'll get his take. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio at 520, talking some football. I want to know why the Niners are favored. I want to get his take on Taylor Swift. Does he have an issue with the coverage? We'll talk coaches. When we come back, I'll get your thoughts on Dame and that experience last night. I want to know what you thought about how everything went down. I've got thoughts on the Commanders getting their coach in Dan Quinn. And I want to talk about chilling for a cause coming up a week from Friday when me and the Godfather are going to be in a cooler at 37 degrees for 3 hours hosting the Rip City Drive to support and benefit ALS Northwest. Woo! It's Thursday, 503-248-0620. Chad doing Rip City Drive. Yeah, great drama last night at Moda Center. Blazers get their best win of the year against Dame and spoil his return. As I mentioned earlier, I thought the fans and the organization were nothing but first class in the way they embraced his return, gave him the love that he deserves. And I thought Dame, like usual, handled himself with class. That had to be tough for him. You know, the emotions were high, and it's probably a draining experience to have so many people reach out, so many people ask about it. And when the game finally gets here, your adrenaline's been running nonstop. So the entire night was great. Most importantly, it was a phenomenal basketball game with a packed house and people going crazy and a terrific finish. The stage was set for Dame to hit the game winner, but the Blazers get the win. So if you have any thoughts on the whole scene, the night, how it went down, if you were there, if you watched on TV, I'd love to get your take on it. 503-248-0620. In fact, let's go out to the phones right now. Nizar, who wants to join the show. Nizar, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your takeaway?
How you doing? Yeah, I was at the game yesterday. I think I actually saw you walk up to the media area and turn back around, so I'm not sure where you had to watch it from. But
no, dude, here's what happened. Yeah,
stand up.
No, I did. What happened is I got to the game late, didn't have a parking spot. I had to park like a mile away up interstate, which is not the safest thing to do. And when I got to the game, all the media spots were taken, and the overflow media, which is usually open up in 208, totally packed. And then when I went, I didn't know where I was going to go, so I text Michael Shacker on the visiting radio side at Section 111. He's like, dude, I'll make a space for you. So he did. So I finally got in and had a place to sit down. But that's how packed it was last night.
Yeah, it was honestly great. And I've been at college for the last few years, so I haven't been to many Blazers games. But just remembering what it was like to have somebody like that here every single night with Damian Lillard is great. And there were so many kids there that'll never know what we had.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping. I would hope Brandon Roy was going to be it, Marcus Aldridge a little bit, Dame, and now Scoot going forward. So it's not like we're going to go out and sign a big three like the Heat did. So we're really depending on these guys to develop.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, what'd you make of Scoot's first half when he was electric, 15 points?
I put some money down on him to go 25 over. I thought Chauncey was going to ride the hot hand, but he decided to just bench him, and that's the thing with Brogdon. It's back and forth. Yeah, he's really good. He is that guy. I went and watched his the game where he dunked on LeBron and Kyrie as a rookie. So he's a dog, but he's also taking minutes that Scoot could be playing in.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. And Nizar, next time you see me wandering around without a place to sit, make space for me, man. Help me out.
All right. Sounds good. I'll scoot over.
I appreciate it, buddy. You're the best. There's Nizar checking in and sharing his thoughts. Yeah, it was a great atmosphere last night. And that's what Dame said. Take a listen to Dame. He was asked about the night, and he said, hey, I just felt appreciated. I think he was taken back. He knew it was going to be good, but he did feel the warm welcome of Rip City?
I just felt appreciated, I think that's what it comes down to. You just feel the appreciation and the love, and I just kind of stood in it. It was like, man, this is a big deal, just to take that moment and to have everybody in the building just show me that type of love. It's acknowledgement of a lot of things, during my time here. So I appreciated it. And that was it.
Yeah, the fans and organization all class last night. Let's go to Brian, who's in Northwest. Brian, appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What was your takeaway from last night?
What a night, Chad. I came walking upstairs, and I was kind of choked up.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, let it out. And I just had to sit with it because I was just so proud of the fans. I was in 8th grade when we won the championship with Bill Walton. And from out of nowhere, we won it that year. We were 49-33. Weren't expected to do much. And then we just started playing well. And, I called in last week, and I was really hard on Scoot, Chad, and I got to take this back. Because it's almost like he listened to the call. And it's like ever since then, it's a different player. I mean, he's shown us athleticism. His head was above the rim on that dunk last night. And just trying to see that player consistently, just with some confidence. First of all, that was nice to see. But getting back to Lillard, Damian Lillard has been my favorite Blazer since for 50 years, and I've been to a lot of games, and he is what you summed it up, Chad, with your opening comments. He is the most professional. He's cut from a different cloth. He just is, and here's what I'm going to call right now. All right?
Yeah.
5 years from now, his contract's up. We bring back Lillard in a vet salary deal where he comes to play for the Blazers. The Blazers win the championship. 5 years from now, with all the talent, with all the draft picks, with everything we got, and we bring back Lillard, I don't know. Something to think about, but one of the greatest moments last night in Blazer history. Loved it. Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate the call, Brian. Yeah, it was awesome. That's one of those memories. Hey, do you remember when Dame made his return with the Bucks? That's one you write down. That's one that you'll have saved in the memory banks. You'll remember it. It was special. That was a special night. And I don't care what jersey Dame has on. He knows this. We know it. He's always going to be a Trailblazer. And Trailblazer fans, unless you live here and you're a part of it, you don't truly understand. You don't. But when you've been out here for a long time and you've grown up with the team, there is something different about NBA basketball in this city. And it goes back to the championship team in 77. And when this team came to town and they eventually won the title, there was that connection created between the city, the people that live here, and the team, and that connection, that bond. And that's really what formed Rip City, and that's what makes it special. And that's why nights like last night are great for the fans here. And you see the warm reception because it's different here. It is. And I'm not just saying it because I live here and because I'm a Trailblazer fan. It is different. I've been to other NBA cities, and they have great fan bases, but there's a connection that exists in the fabric of this town, this city, this community, and the connection between the people and the team is different than anywhere else in the league. And that's what makes it special. And that's why we need more moments like we saw last night. So if you want to share your thoughts on how things went down last night, I thought Mark Mason was fabulous in his PA introductions. I would expect nothing less from the voice. He was great. Great seeing the fans, the organization, all class, and Dame was awesome. And most importantly, the Blazers got the win. They got the win, and Scoot was dynamic in the first half. He looked great. And that dunk was epic. I was pumped at the first half that Scoot had. I think that's what I liked more about the night than anything else was the way he played in that moment. What have I been telling you about Scoot? Demeanor, his attitude, the way he handles himself, the work ethic. Those are all things that give me optimism about his future because of the way he works. And the Blazers have found a role where he's continuing to develop, and we just want to see that growth. But if his game matches his personality, he will become the leader and the voice of the locker room because he's dynamic. His personality, he's always smiling. He's like a happy guy. He's not like one of those fake tough guys that's always serious. He's always smiling. It's an infectious personality, and I enjoy it. I'm down with Scoot. His poise for such a young one is very impressive. All right, 503-248-0620. We'll get back to basketball here in just a moment, but I do want to talk football for just a bit as the Commanders have found their coach. New ownership, flush with cash. They were looking for a coach, and they've got one. Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who, of course, used to be on Pete Carroll's staff up in Seattle. Former head coach of the Falcons, who had great success, but, of course, failed and blew the 28-3 lead on the Patriots. Well, we thought he was going to go to Seattle. That's where I thought Dan Quinn would end up with Seattle. But it turns out he's going to be with the Commanders. It's a risky hire from the standpoint that the league is continuing to move towards offense and quarterback development. But I do like Dan Quinn. He has had great success at every single stop, and everyone who knows him swears by him. He is a relationship guy across the league. And check this. Under Quinn, The Cowboys led the NFL in takeaways, sacks, and defensive touchdowns over the past 3 seasons. They also had 2 different players, Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, lead the NFL in interceptions. Great opportunity for him. They have the number 2 pick, a ton of draft assets, massive cap space, and rich, aggressive owners. He's going to end up with either Caleb Williams or Drake May, and that is a great starting point. So the Commanders and Seahawks both go defensive. Now, I got this tweet, and it is funny. Hey, Chad, this is from Rip City Mike. Are you telling me Michael McDonald is the new Seahawks head coach? I always thought he was one of your favorite yacht rock singers. Not only is he one of my favorite yacht rock singers, but he might be the best yacht rock singer. In fact, I'm just going to say it right now. I'm confident that Michael McDonald is the best voice in the history of yacht rock, along with his boy, Kenny Loggins. But that's what I thought when the Hawks made their coach hire. Mike McDonald. I'm like, wait, what? Blue-eyed soul, Mike McDonald? Are you kidding me? Because every time I hear his name and the Seahawks head coach announced, I only think of one Michael McDonald. I love it when people watch music videos for the first time. You see this on YouTube, where you'll have people that will listen to songs from yesterday for the first time, and they're blown away by some of the quality of the music that came out in the 70s. People will sit down and listen to Eagles songs or the Doobie Brothers or Michael McDonald, or younger people checking out Michael Jackson, and they're blown away by the quality of the music. And you get that a lot with Michael McDonald. But my favorite part is when they find out the guy's white. So good. They're like, no way, he sounds like that? How can that guy sing like that? But that's exactly what I thought when the Hawks announced their head coach. We've hired Mike McDonald as our next head coach. Awesome. Is he going to do halftime concert shows? All right, let's go back out to the phones. Let's go to Dallas. Zach. Zach, welcome to the show. You're up. Fire away.
Hey, Chad, long-time listener. Love you guys. Woo! I just want to say, hey, we're on the heels of watching a team of growth. We all got to be patient. We don't know where this is going, but last night gave us a blip of what we know we're going to grow to. A couple of trades maybe here in the future. But let's get to Dame. Dame Dollar is ours here in Ridge City. And you could see the love in his face, wishing that the Portland Trail Blazers were the ones that were in contention, and he was on that squad, not the Bucks. That guy is a Ridge City boy, true to the bone. So are we. You are correct about Portland being and Oregon being a basketball town. We love Dame. You can see it in his eyes. Lillard's going to go win a chip, hopefully, for us. He's coming back. His jersey's going in the rafters, and we're all going to be better for it. But that man is ours, and I wanted to see him win the game winner last night. I wanted to see him hit that, but, hey, glad that Portland pulled it out even. But the energy of what that team showed is exactly where we know we're going in the future, and Dame's coming back to be a part of it.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call, Zach. That was terrific. Yeah, the young Blazers, the energy and the execution, the way they played, I thought it was terrific. That was a well-played game. Scoot, Tamani Kamara flying around, Jabari Walker's playing well. The young guys are looking good. And that's what this process is about. Don't get hung up on the wins and losses right now. Focus in on these young guys, study them, watch them, and enjoy their growth, because eventually Scoot Henderson's going to be out there and be the next guy. And that's exciting. I thought Anthony Simons, last night, he rebounded. He found redemption. He had that hideous turnover late, and the Bucks took the lead on that dunk by Giannis, and you're like, oh, here we go. And then next time down the court, Ant nearly turns it over. He's holding onto the ball too long. I'm like, what are you doing? And he puts that sweet move into the paint. I thought he traveled, but it was a Euro step, and he put it in. those two shots late in the game, the one where Grant was falling to his left and then Ant's Euro step, that was amazing. So Ant found redemption after that hideous turnover, and the Blazers get the win. That was terrific. That was fun. That was a good night. Great night. We got a lot of things going on in the Northwest. Dame made his return. Blazers get the win and spoil the homecoming. And the Seattle Seahawks have found their new head coach, who also is a yacht rock superstar. I wouldn't mind being Dan Quinn, though. Rich owners, aggressive, tons of cap space, the number 2 pick. It's nice when you take over a team and you get a chance to rebuild something, knowing you get either Drake May or Caleb Williams. Probably Drake May. But the Bears are dumb, and they're likely to do something crazy, but I hope they don't. It's that simple. Just draft Caleb Williams and call it good. If they don't, and he turns out to be a superstar, they're never going to live it down. You've got to take Caleb Williams. It's that simple. It's that simple. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number, 503-248-0620. I just got great news. We're going to be joined by Mark Mason, the wonderful voice of Moda Center. So when we come back, I will figure out when he's going to join us, and we'll get his take on how it went down last night and what his thought process was going into the game now that Dame's on the opposing team. Chris Burkhardt going to stop by at 4:20. We'll talk football with Brian Noe at 5:20, 503-248-0620. I got thoughts on Taylor Swift coming up at 4. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how things played out last night. If you're at the game, if you watched it, what did you think about the scene? You got the Rip City Drive. All right, just got word that the voice of Motor Center, Mark Mason, is going to join the show coming up at 4 o'clock. He's enjoying his retirement right now by working on his cars, so we'll get details. But most importantly, I want to ask him about his approach and thought process going into the game as the PA announcer and how he came up with the decision to handle Dame in the introductions the way that he did. I thought it was terrific. So Mark Mason going to join us coming up at 4. Chris Burkhardt's going to stop by and talk about last night at 4:20, and then we'll focus in on the NFL and the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift with Brian O coming up at 5:20. I'll go to the phones in just a moment, so if you're on hold, stay there, 503-248-0620. But coming up a week from Friday, a week from tomorrow on February 9th, Dwight and I are going to be doing something special, and I want you to join us. We're going to be at the Jackson's Food Mart right here in Lake Oswego at the corner of I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. You can literally see the Jackson's from I-5. You can't miss it. I-5 and 217, Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road. Chilling for a cause. We are going to do the Rip City Drive live from their beer cooler at 37 degrees for 3 hours. And we're doing it to benefit ALS Northwest. The best part about the day is that you can stop by. You can come say hi to us in the cooler, stock up on all your beverages and goodies for the big game on Sunday. And you can also enter to win Trailblazer tickets just by showing up. But more importantly, we have an auction going on right now. All proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. And if you go to our website, ripcityradio.com, go to our calendar page, and you'll see an icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Click on that, and in bolded out, you'll see the link for auction. And if you go to our auction page, we've got autographed Trailblazer basketballs, bids starting at $75. We also have the Coors Light Silver Seats, which are awesome. It's 4 seats where you sit at your own captain chair, big cushy seats with your own table in front of you, great view of the court. It's got a cold rail technology where you can keep your beverage cold throughout the entire game and a phone charger. So you could bid on the seats and then split it up with the 3 other friends you want to go to the game with. So we've got autographed Trailblazer basketballs, Coors Light Silver Seats. We have autographed Trailblazer pennants starting at $25. You can bid on those right now. The prizes I really like is you can bid to co-host the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. That means you win the bid, you can come in and we will program the show to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Maybe you want to talk about sports. That's fine. Maybe you own a business and you want to talk about your business for 3 hours. You can do that. It's up to you. It's your show. It is your show. You take it over. So you can bid to host the Rip City Drive. You can also play a round of golf out at Forest Hills Golf Club with Dwight and I. Or, my favorite, you can bid to become a Trailblazer reporter for a game. That means for a game, you come to the game, you have a press pass, you're at the game with me, we're at press row, we're talking about the game, you're seeing how things go down, and after the game, you get to go behind the scenes into the post-game press conference. And we also have an autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. And the autographed jersey is available. So go to our website, ripcityradio.com, go to the calendar page, click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause, and you'll find the link for the auction. Please bid. My grandfather passed away from ALS. Many families here in the Northwest suffer from that, and there's a lot of cost and particulars that come in caring for a loved one with ALS, and these people need our help. So you get a chance to support a great cause and take part in something special. Chillin' for a Cause is coming up a week from tomorrow, February 9th, at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road, I-5 and 217. And Dwight and I will be in the 37-degree cooler for 3 hours. And if you stop by, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets. All right, trying to get a feel for what you thought about the scene last night at Motor Center with Dame's return. Let's go to Selwood. Scott joins us. Scott, appreciate the phone call. What was your takeaway?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I'm just so thankful, like, the team put in such a good effort. I tell you, my son, I raised him right. He's a Trailblazer fan. They traded Damian Lillard, and he doesn't want to watch Blazer games. He wants to watch Milwaukee Bucks games. So last night, bringing him to the game, by the end of it, the light was in his eyes. He was cheering, smiling, super happy. Like, I'm so glad we got to see what Chauncey Billups coaching right looks like, and hopefully more of that in the future.
I agree 100%, and I thought the scene last night, how about that standing ovation that lasted for over a minute?
Oh, my gosh, I tell you what, we were still in line outside, and it was so loud coming out the doors. Oh, man, goosebumps now even thinking about it.
I agree with your assessment on Chauncey. I thought he outcoached Doc Rivers, and when you have a game like that, a win like that, there's a lot of credit to go around, but I thought Chauncey had the guys ready. I thought they played clean basketball. They moved the ball. They didn't turn it over, and they executed down the stretch, and the young guys who played made an impact, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great game.
How old is your son?
He's 15.
Oh, perfect, dude. He's like right in the wheelhouse of sports and having the time to invest. That's a great time right there.
He was so bummed out when Damian was gone. I mean, he's literally watched every Bucks game since this season, and hasn't. We used to watch Blazer games together, and he hasn't wanted to watch. And now I was like, at the end, I'm like, so can you see it? He had the smile in his eyes. He said, "Yeah, I think I can see it." Yeah,
Dude,
feels good.
That's so cool, man. Scott, I'm glad you had a good time with your son. Those are special moments that he'll never forget, and you won't forget. But I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, man. It was cool. Last night was great.
Yep. I love you, man. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. There's Scott in Selwood. Thanks for reaching out, brother. He's right, man. Chauncey Billups coached his ass off last night. He outcoached Doc Rivers. I don't know if that's hard to do. It sure seems like it wouldn't be that hard to do. But going into the game, everyone thought the Bucks were going to hammer them. I didn't. But the perception was the Blazers were up against it, and yet they're the ones who came out and got the job done. They outplayed the Bucks. Chauncey had a great night. That was just a well-played basketball game. And I think we're seeing what continuity can do for a group of guys. They've got a rotation now. Guys know what to expect. They know when they're going to be called upon. And it was just nice to see them playing team ball, staying connected through the difficulties too. And big shot making down the stretch from both Grant and also Anthony, who redeemed himself after that turnover where he fell down and the ball goes out of bounds. It's like, wait, what? What's going on here? And Chauncey had a couple of good challenges too. It was a good night for Chauncey. That was a very good night for Chauncey. He got the job done. All right, when we come back, Mark Mason, the voice of Motor Center, will join us. And we'll get his take on his approach and how he was going to handle last night. We'll talk with Chris Burkhardt. He'll be in studio at 4:20. And then Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, talking football at 5:20. I've got thoughts on Taylor Swift. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday out there. Nice day. Very nice weather outside. It makes me wish I was on the golf course. 503-248-0620. Feel free to call if you got thoughts on the entire scene last night. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, now 4 o'clock. What a night at Moda Center. Damian Lillard is back in town, but the Blazers spoiled the homecoming. They got the win 119-116 in their best game of the season. Ant with 24. After the game, Dame talked about the night.
I just felt appreciated, I think that's what it comes down to. You just feel the appreciation and the love, and I just kind of stood in it. It was like, man, this is a big deal.
Blazers back at it tomorrow night in Denver for the first of 2 against the Nuggets. Tip-off at 6. Game day at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Both LeBron and AD have been ruled out tonight. Lakers meet the Celtics a day after the Hawks named Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald as their coach. The Washington Commanders have hired Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn as their next head coach. You got more of the Rip City Drive coming up next. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, will join me at 5:20.
First for the visiting Milwaukee Bucks, who enter tonight's game with a record of 32 wins and 15 losses, good for second place in the Eastern Conference. On the floor tonight for the Bucks, starting at guard, 6'4" from Florida State, number 5, Malik Beasley. At guard, 6'3" from Weber State, wearing the letter O, Damian Lillard.
That, of course, is the great Mark Mason, the voice of Moda Center, a friend, and he's joining us right now on the broadcast. Mason, it's great to have you back on the show, buddy. You were terrific last night, and one of my big things going into the game was I wonder how Mason is going to handle the starting lineup introductions, and I thought you crushed it. So please, Mason, what was your thought process going in knowing that Dame was coming back?
Yeah, well, wow, Chad, it's good to be with you. That's the first time I actually listened to it. You playing it back right there. You know how it is?
Yes.
Even for radio people, when you hear your own voice, you listen to it, and you think, you just hear every imperfection and every flaw.
Yep.
And you can't, you just don't like it. But I've been avoiding listening back to it, and listening back to it there, man, I'm getting choked up again because I was choking up as that was happening. I mean, all day long, for days leading up to it, I was unsure of how we were actually going to broach the actual introduction of Dame, because there's a lot of moving parts there, wouldn't you think?
No question.
He left. He asked to leave. There was that whole kind of the messy separation, which for him I think worked out pretty good. For us, it puts us in a position where we're kind of we're looking for all the right parts now going forward, and his coming back, there were some questions about, in my mind anyway, about how we handle it. But as the day went on, as the days approached, it became clear that there was a lot of love in the air for Damian, and it was gonna play out that way.
Now, in your pre-production meetings, did you get any direction, or did you ask any questions on how you should handle the pregame lineups, or did you just make the decision as time went along and you went with it? Like, how did that process play out?
I probably could have, because the team is just really great about, they never tell me what to do, in situations. I mean, we have a script, yes, things that happen during timeouts and everything else, but, we've just been doing it so long together. Blazer Todd, Todd Bosma, he's my boss. A couple of games before, we just sat around in the Moda Center, and we were kicking it around, and I said, what do we do when Dame comes here? And the first thing was, do I say the letter O? Because that was so distinct and unique for Damian here in Portland. I say, do we go there? And I think within 5 seconds we said, oh yeah, we have, we've got to say letter O. Now the next question is, how big do we want to make that? Do I want to go with my, signature call that I've done for the, forever since he's been in the NBA? Or what kind of tone do we take? And that's what I guess what I was wrestling with for the days leading up to it. And in the end, Chad, I just kind of went with my gut and went with the crowd. I mean, we knew it'd be bigger than any other visitor I've ever introduced. To tell you the truth, I mean, you know how it is. The visitors, we don't want to be disrespectful when we introduce them. But you know what? We don't want to pump them up either. This is not their home crowd. This is not their home arena. So I always treat it like very matter of fact. Who it is, kind of just the facts, ma'am. Kind of introductions. But for Dame, we both knew it was going to be different.
We're talking with Mark Mason, who is the voice of Moda Center. I thought you handled it perfectly. And then what I loved is later in the game when he was at the foul line, you did your usual Mark Mason stuff where you would say, Damian Lillard at the line, shooting 2. And I thought that was great. That was so well done.
He doesn't play for us anymore.
No.
So, no, and listen. If anybody could appreciate it, he could.
Yes.
So he knows what it's all about.
Did you run into him?
And then there was a question.
Did you run into Dame before the game?
No. I wanted to. I really wanted to make an effort to say hi, and just everywhere I had to be was not where he was, and so it wasn't until during the game that if we were going to have any opportunity to be there at the scorer's table. And he had his game face on. I'm not going to sit there and reach out. And he was. Now he put on his work clothes and he was going to work. And so that wasn't the time to sit there and smile and do high fives or whatever kind of fives. So didn't get a chance to catch up on this visit.
Is he the only other player that's actually used your microphone?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was an amazing time. I mean, I look back, I see the video of that, and he's so young, and I'm a lot younger. But and then there was the position of where he's going to go in the lineups. So many people said you got to introduce him last. He's got to be first or last. And if he's last, that way we can cheer and go crazy. But in introducing our players. Right now we're they're lined up. Let's see, guard, center, forward. So we start with Ant and we end with Jeremy Grant. So that's how we do it. And for as long as I've been doing it, almost 28 years now, I've just mirrored the visitors that way. So for the longest time it was forward, center, guard. Now Jeremy's goes last, and so now it's guard, center, forward. So the opposing team always goes guard, center, forward. I don't change it around and customize it for the visiting team. So that's how Dame came to be in the first couple. And then the question was, do we go first or second as the guard? And the question, and then we thought, let's make it second because that way people will know he's coming up next, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people would obviously get it, but we set kind of the tone with the first one, and then we, as I started, as you played back there, it was definitely at a lower timber, if you will. But as the crowd built, so did I, and then I just, by the time I got to his name, I figured nobody can hear me anyway. I'm just going to let it rip.
It was great. A 1-minute standing ovation. How great is that?
It was awesome, and it could have gone on. It would have gone on, I think, had not the Milwaukee players come out on the court. Now that and they're pointing at Dame and dancing around with him and everything else. Honestly, if it was just Dame in that spotlight, I think the crowd would have gone on for 2 minutes, maybe even longer at that volume. And this is not a knock on the Milwaukee players. They love the guy, and they come out and they were happy to be part of this. It was an exciting moment in NBA time. I mean, it doesn't happen in every arena during a season. So they danced around him. He's their family member now, and you saw him do that merry-go-round kind of thing with him. I think the fans kind of started backing off when the rest of the team got involved. And so they thought, okay, that it was for Dame. And so at that point, then I continued on with the rest of the roster. It was the right thing to do just because, one, nobody's going to hear me anyway. but they could hear my voice maybe underneath it a little bit, realizing that this part was coming to an end and that the Blazers introductions were about to start.
Yeah, that's great. We're talking with Mark Mason, voice of Motor Center here on the Rip City Drive. With the home team, with the Blazers, who determines who's going to be announced last? I was thinking about that last night. Is that you? Is that the team? How does that work?
I think it's, we kind of, well, first of all, Damian obviously kind of set the standard, right? Before that,
yeah,
it was Brandon Roy. Brendan Roy was the last guy I introduced, and before that, Damon Stoudemire.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this, it's kind of the guy who's setting the tone for the team.
Yeah.
Maybe, and so you can cheer for him the loudest and the longest. He comes last. At the same time, you can make a case for, the first position too. But I think the Jeremy, I think, is the guy right now that we kind of, I think everybody agrees we kind of lean on him, right?
Yeah.
So, as time goes by, maybe that changes. Who knows? But for the longest time, it was Damian, and it was over a decade that we hadn't even thought about who would go in that last slot.
Well, that's awesome. I know you're working on your cars right now. I believe you're a Saab guy, and so I heard that you're working on your cars. And what we want to know is it your show car that you're working on right now?
Negative. It's my daily driver. Yeah. I've kind of broke the seat cowling that goes around the bottom there, trim. So I kind of I don't know, maybe I'm gaining weight or something like that. I heard it snap. So I'm trying to figure out a way to zip tie that. That's what you do with Saabs, by the way, is you kind of zip tie pieces together and get another 100,000 miles out of them.
Well, Mark,
and you were at the game. I mean, wasn't that amazing last night? The crowd chanting down Giannis.
It was the best. And it was so loud at the end of the game.
Insane.
It was great.
Yeah. I mean, it was a playoff game, and maybe a taste. You saw Chauncey running up and down the sidelines. He coached his brains out last night.
He outcoached Doc completely.
Absolutely a gap.
He outcoached Doc.
Yeah. I mean, it was incredible, and maybe just a glimpse of what's to come. Down if that's a glimpse of what's to come, it's going to be fun.
Well, I tell you what, buddy. Congratulations on your 49ers. Good luck in the Super Bowl. And it's so great to hear your voice, man. Nice work last night. That was so much fun, and you were a part of it, man. That was epic.
All right, coming from you, I really appreciate that. I really do, Chad. I miss seeing you every day there at the Radio Ranch, but we'll see you at Moda again.
Yes, I'll see you soon, buddy. There's Mark Mason, the voice of Moda Center. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your phone calls next. Evan, I know you're there, so don't go anywhere. He's my Oklahoma brother from another mother. And Chris Burkhardt going to join me in studio. Rip City Drive. Brian O going to join us at 5:20. Big thanks to Mark Mason. I love him, and I thought he was great on the mic last night. Nice work, Mark. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Chris Burkhart's in studio, and he's going to join me here in just a moment. But I want to go out to the phones. Evan, who is from Oklahoma, my Oklahoma brother, is here. Evan, what's up, buddy? What's on your mind?
What's going on, my man? I just want to talk a little Super Bowl with you if you got a chance.
I do. I'm ready for it. And by the way, thank you for paying up on your wager. Dwight and I had a phenomenal meal down at El Gaucho. It was epic. So you're the man.
Hey, you know what? A Lannister keeps the promise. I don't know how the saying goes, but, the Game of Thrones thing.
Yes, I got you, man. I got you. What's your take on the bowl?
Well, so I wanted to get also your opinion being, you watch Big 12 probably more than a lot of people in the PNW. But, man, Brock Purdy, what is the one thing in the Big 12 you don't do? And that's doubt Iowa State. They are giant killers. Every time they're in the moment, they've always come to the occasion or rose to the occasion and stomped out whoever they're playing, whether it be OU, OSU. OSU literally lost the national title to Iowa State.
That's right.
And so all I want to say is, all these people are saying, Brock Purdy's young, he's not ready for the moment. Have not watched Iowa State football and seen what these guys do when the moment's hot, And I just wanted to get your opinion on that kind of take because I know you watched the Big 12 growing up.
Well, I agree. And what Brock Purdy showcased at Iowa State was a ability to make big plays late in games, lead his teams to wins over competition that was clearly better. And I think all the starts he got at Iowa State and the experience really helped pay off and helped him early on during his time with the 49ers. And now he's got great coaching. He's got great teammates around him, and he's exceeded all expectation. He's not a top 5 quarterback. Brock Purdy's not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but he has made progress steadily throughout the time he's been the starter. And now he's got a chance to go up against Mahomes and get it done. But the good thing is he doesn't have to do it all on his own. He just got to be a point guard and get the ball in the hands of the playmakers, and they got plenty of them. All right, Chris Burkhart's in the house. He was with Blazers Broadcasting last night, taking it in at Moda Center. First off, just your overall reaction to what went down tonight, or not tonight, but last night with the scene, the fan reaction, the whole night, and the way the organization, I thought, was first class.
Oh, yeah. It was great from start to finish, and you had that special vibe inside the arena. I know on the postgame show, Travis asked me, he's like, you were around for .9 and the bad shot and all this. Like, where does this rank? And I was like, it's right up there with those special day moments, but what makes it so unique is the fact that it had nothing to do with what happened on the court, right? Mm-hmm. .9 was great because of the shot that happened on the court. The bad shot was memorable because of it happened on the court. Last night was a different emotion because it was all about everything Dame kind of did and meant to the city.
Yeah.
And so it was a completely different vibe. Like, this was one of just, it was love. It was really cool. It was really unique. And it's up there with one of those games that if you were in the building, you're going to remember it forever.
I just couldn't believe how it played out in the fourth quarter with 17.6 seconds on the clock. Blazers up 1, and we all were waiting for Dame to drop the dagger.
Oh, everybody was. I think that was really, for me at least, that was the moment where it really hit you that Dame was in the building and he wasn't a Blazer.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've seen him play all year long if you're watching the NBA. So you've seen him in a Bucks jersey before, and you saw him make those moves. And the very first drive, he goes to the basket. I'm like, it was just the quintessential Dame layup. Like that, it looks so familiar, but it still didn't hit you. But then when the game is on the line and you realize that Mr. Clutch was on the other team now, you're like, oh, yeah, the ball's going to him, but for a chance for them to win. Like, I had my phone out, Chad. Like, it was on the Moda logo because I was waiting just for a picture-perfect reproduction of the bad shot because it's like you knew the ball was going to his hands. And, yeah, they tried to. It just didn't work out.
I thought the Blazers did a great job defending late in the game, forcing the ball out of his hands. He had to make a cross-court pass, and Brook Lopez put up a long three. But that's not the shot they were looking for. The Blazers dictated what went down there.
I think what was more impressive for me on that particular play, Chad, was not only getting the ball out of his hands, but if you go watch, what does Lopez do when he gets the ball? He looks right back to Dame. But you had Tamani out there on Lopez. I think Brogdon was on Dame. And the way they guarded it, they cut off the passing lane so that once the ball got out of his hands, it wasn't getting back into his hands. And then 3-point shot's kind of what they wanted. So it made sense for Lopez to take that shot when he did it, because I think they're looking at the long game. If he misses it, long rebound, we still have a chance. And that's kind of how things played out. But yeah, the defense, great all the way around.
Amazing how that sequence played out, because the Blazers had a chance to go up 5, but Ayton grabbed an offensive rebound, missed the putback, grabbed the rebound, turned it over. Dame goes down and gets that dunk right down the lane. And then Anthony Simons has that bizarre turnover where he falls down. The ball goes out of bounds. Giannis gets the dunk, and they take the lead. And then Ant almost turned it over again, but then somehow was able to get into the paint with that crazy Euro step where he probably traveled and scored.
It does get that nice little Euro. I don't know if there was a travel or not, but that shot itself took some touch.
Oh,
I mean, it was just a
so
nice
good.
the little Euro from the left to right, little floater, and just nothing but net. So it was kind of cool. It was one of those moments again. It was, you didn't have Mr. Clutch, you didn't have Dame time, but you had Ant time, right?
Ant time.
And it was great to see it.
And Grant hit a big shot. And I thought what was nice, after Grant hit the 2 free throws and the Blazers went up back 3, there was like around almost 6 seconds on the clock. The Bucks didn't have a timeout. The Blazers did the smart thing. They fouled Giannis at half court, put him back on the line before they could even get a shot up.
Yeah.
Genius.
And that one is the baffling one. Like, I get Giannis is your best player, but in that situation, the guy who shoots terribly from the line, let's put the ball in his hands, he's going to get fouled every single time in that situation.
I'll never understand why a player like Giannis can't make free throws. It's a struggle for him.
It is, big time.
And the fans were letting him have it with his slow process, counting down every free throw.
Hey, on that, you know what was ridiculous? You know what was ridiculous, Chad? Was how come he sits there and he goes through his little routine before they give him the ball? Like, the refs are playing into it. They're letting him get his 7-second routine and then giving him the ball to add another 10 seconds on top of it. So they don't have to, like, watch it. The refs were just sitting there watching him do it, and then they'd nod their head and pass him the ball. I'm like, what the heck's going on? But then they also gave away their plan on the last shot, because everyone goes, are you going to miss it intentionally? Are you going to do this? You're going to do that? Well, he shot the ball. We know how long it took him because everyone was counting. He shot the ball at 5. Every other free throw he shot at 10, but he shot that one at 5. So you knew it was going to be a rebound. So you just play it, and that's what they did. They got the rebound. But that's ridiculous how long he takes to shoot those free throws.
I thought on the court, the Blazers outcoached and outplayed the Bucks pretty much throughout the game. I thought the story for me, that first half from Scoot was electric. He was not afraid. He was in attack mode, and I thought he was dominant in the first half. Might have been his best performance so far this year.
I think those are the little things that you start to see as he progresses. The skill's there, right?
Yeah.
But last night he was playing with a little bit of that confidence, right? And so once the confidence meets up with the skill, and then just the IQ and knowledge meets up all together, that's when you take a massive jump. But that dunk, he runs baseline, does that little spin, and then boom, I mean, then he does the flex. I mean, that got everybody going.
A lot of people have commented on that dunk, how his head was like above the rim.
Oh, yeah, it was, look, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to a guy that gave us his best for a decade, but you watch even the dunk that Dame had there in the fourth quarter versus the dunk that Scoot had. Those are 2 different levels of athleticism, let me tell you what.
Scoot's a freak, man.
Yeah.
The Blazers had to feel good about that. I thought Jabari played well. I like the defense from Tamani Kamara. He won't get the credit he deserves probably ever, but DeAndre Ayton was a monster down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter. He was making shots. He was rebounding. I thought the Blazers did a good job of getting him the ball in spots where he could be effective.
Here's the thing. I think midway through the fourth there, Blazers are on a 10-1 run. Milwaukee calls a timeout, right? Right out of that timeout, they get a Dame 3. They get Giannis to the free throw line, and boom, it's a 6-point game, right? It was 101 to 95. Then DeAndre Ayton scored 8 of the Blazers' next 10 points, 6 in a row, and they were not possessions where it's like an offensive rebound, easy putback. It was back to the basket, in the block, turnaround floater, get the ball at the free throw line, do his little jumper because he's got real good touch at that range. Like, what I thought was really nice to see about that particular performance from him was they needed big shots in that moment because they were batching buckets, right? And he stepped up and took those shots, and that was something, again, I don't think we've seen enough from him early on. So I think he's kind of making that turn, too, of getting comfortable in the lineup.
You're right about the touch. His face-up jumper from like 15 to 17 is pretty darn good, and he's really good down in the paint of using the right or the left hand, especially the right, of going up with that little hook shot and just dropping it in. It was pretty nice.
How about the shot from Duop Reith, though, in the corner where Scoot throws it to him? He bobbles it. Time's running down. He just lets it go with like 1 second and just boop, nothing but net. Like, oh, my gosh. Like, it's the Blazers' night, man.
Dude, Reith is a good shooter. Yeah, and not only that, but I remember Tamani Kamara, they were trying to get the ball to somebody else, and it didn't work out because the Bucks defense was good. So Tamani's like, screw it, I'll have to take it. And he put the ball down, went on a nice little spin move and a little left-handed hook shot right in. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he was good. Both ends, too. I was really impressed, especially late in the fourth, between him and Jabari. They were doing really good communication in the way they were fighting over screens and making their switches. Like Milwaukee was trying to confuse Tamani, and he wasn't getting confused. His defense is next level.
I think the most impressive thing for me over the last couple of weeks, and we saw it again last night, 26 assists, only 11 turnovers, but the ball movement. So many different guys are touching the ball and getting involved, and I think that's promoting good offense that we're seeing from them right now.
Yeah, they're playing with a fluidity now. I feel like the tension is gone. Like, it's not like, again, we're not getting over the skis here and say they're turning the corner, they're making a run to the play-in or anything, but things are looking smooth, right? Like, if you're taking a sports car and you're just flooring the gas, but there's speed bumps on the road, you're going to do damage. Like, right now, they're on cruise control when it comes to their offense. The ball's moving, there's not a lot of hiccups, and it leads to open shots, and that's why you think those assist numbers are going up, because open shots are obviously a lot easier to hit than ones that you're guarded with a hand in your face. So, no, I just like the fact that they're starting to play a little loose and free offensively, and it's leading to good nights of basketball.
And a big night for Chauncey. You know, he's much criticized by the fan base, but I thought he outcoached Doc, and he did a good job with the replay activity, too. He used his challenges wisely. I just thought he had a good night.
Yeah, he did. I think he outcoached Doc. That's for sure. You got to remember, too, I mean, to Doc's credit, I mean, 2 games in? So it's like, how much of the playbook does Milwaukee actually know that he wants to run, used to him, et cetera? But I know people dogged the challenges, but I mean, even the one that ended up being a Milwaukee possession instead of a jump ball, it's like, okay, it was no harm, no foul, because technically he won the challenge, right? So you don't lose the timeout.
Yeah.
The ball could have gone to you, but it didn't. You know, you do your best. But no, I thought the challenges were good. They made sense in the moment. I'm glad he challenged the one on Tamani, because that one was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sitting there watching that game. I'm like, dude, Scoot is getting bodied every single time he goes to the rim. Granted, most of those were legal guarding position and the contact that's allowed, but he is getting legit contact every single time. And then you call that foul on Tamani when he doesn't even touch Dame? I mean, does not touch him. And you call that a foul? Like, I'm so glad that he challenged it, and they had to, sit there in front of the camera and basically, without saying the exact words, say, yeah, we're big dum-dums and missed that call. Like, what are we doing here?
That's where I think the replay challenges have been helpful with some of the star treatment and the nonsense calls that we see on a nightly basis. At least now coaches at times can be like, come on, man, I'm going to challenge that one.
Yeah.
That's good, especially for a player like Tamani. The great thing about Tamani, even though he's young, he's been so good defensively that he's going to quickly earn respect from the officials as a good defender, and I think we'll see less of those ticky-tack calls that are bad calls on him.
Yeah, and there was a couple last night, too, outside of that one. Like, I was surprised there almost wasn't a foul call, because there was a couple points where he and Giannis down low were battling for position. I mean, going at it. And I was surprised and happy there wasn't a foul call, because I don't think there should have been either way. Sometimes it's fun to watch a little old school basketball and just see him battle for position in the block. But the fact that he was willing to go toe-to-toe with a guy with the size and strength of Giannis shows you the mentality he plays defense with.
A couple of charges he took, too. He had one on the baseline where he just got run over by Giannis. Giannis, and you don't, unless you see it live, like, I mean, he's so strong. Like, when he lowers his shoulder and he attacks the rim, good luck with that.
He could be a linebacker or something. He's dirty. He got one from him. I think he took a charge from Connaughton. He first forced a couple turnovers while manning up on Dame. Like, again, his defense was incredible last night.
I'll say this. I want the Bucks to win the title because I think it'd be cool to see Dame do that, but they've got issues right now. I don't know if Doc can solve it, but their defense, they've got to sort some things out defensively.
Yeah. And it is. I think it's a scheme thing, honestly, because I like Drew Holiday as much as the next guy. But if Drew Holiday was the true, linchpin to being a good defensive team or not, then the Pelicans should have treated every team like they treated the Blazers in the playoffs, right? Every single team he should be on, they should have been the absolute best. You lose him, I get you replace him with Dame, but I mean, you still have Giannis, you still have Brook Lopez, who played decent defense in the block last night. You got guys like Jay Crowder, who's been a defensive guy his entire career. Bobby Portis knows how to play defense. You can go down that line. So to me, it's definitely more of a scheme thing than it is a player personnel thing.
All right, Chris Burkhardt in studio. You're a big 49er fan. You're getting jacked for the bowl a week from Sunday.
Oh boy! I've finally come down from the NFC Championship game. But yeah, I'm getting excited. It's going to be a big game, a chance for the 49ers to, get a little revenge from the last time they made it to the bowl and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And no, I'm all for it. I'm riding this one all the way through. It's kind of crazy to think you're in the Trent Williams in his first Super Bowl, Christian McCaffrey in the Super Bowl. I think it's crazy the fact that Mike Shanahan goes and wins a Super Bowl with Ed McCaffrey, and now Kyle Shanahan is in the Super Bowl with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that's wild how, these things come full circle like that.
I was watching an old Bronco game last night. Shanahan, the coach, his son Kyle is on the sideline, a young Kyle Shanahan, and you've got Ed McCaffrey on the field. It's pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to the game. And tomorrow night, you're going to be filling in for Mike Lynch. You'll be on the Trailblazers Radio Network as the studio host. You ready to go?
Oh, I am. I'm going to still take lots of notes and write things down tonight.
Yeah.
No pressure, but making my my Blazers Radio Network debut.
All right, dude. I'm excited for you.
I know. I'm excited, too.
Good times.
It's going to be fun.
And, for the Blazers, they get 2 games Friday and Sunday in Denver. If they were to get a split and you finish out the week with wins over Philly, Milwaukee, and you get one over Denver, that's a pretty darn good week.
That's a pretty darn good week.
Because we looked at the schedule before this week began. We're like, uh-oh. Philly, Denver twice, Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's a tough stretch. And by the way, did you see the latest there on Joel Embiid? Confirmed that he has suffered a torn meniscus in his left knee. So there's no timetable for that. I think they're going to let him go through the weekend and see what the plan is. But, he's donezo probably for the year. So
that's terrible.
Brutal.
Reigning MVP who had been playing terrific basketball so far this year.
Terrific basketball.
That sucks.
Yes.
And that further opens up the Eastern Conference for Boston and Milwaukee.
Yep, it does. But injury aside, that's like I told you in the 5th quarter after that game, is a lot of people want to point to the fact like, oh, there's no Tyrese Maxey, no Joel Embiid. You didn't even beat the full-strength 76ers. Yeah, but those are the type of games that bad teams lose, right? Where the door's wide open, the team doesn't have all their stars, they still come in and throttle you. And the Blazers took care of business. And then there's no excuse for the Bucks. Right? You might be able to say, oh, is our coach in his second game, but it's not like this is a rookie coach. It's a coach who knows what he's doing. But that was a full-strength Bucks team. Dame making his return back home. Giannis a full go. Everyone ready to go. And you beat them. Like the Blazers won that game. So like you said, if you go into Denver and you get a split, I mean, that's a great stretch of basketball right there.
All right, Chris Burkhardt in studio. Enjoy your night, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. You're the man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian Noe going to join us at 5:20. We'll talk football. If you want to jump on board and share your thoughts from last night, 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, big thanks to my buddy Chris Burkhardt for stopping by. All right, I want to encourage you to take part in Chillin' for a Cause. It's going to be a week from tomorrow, February 9th. Dwight and I are going to be over at the Jackson's Food Mart, which is right across the freeway from where I'm sitting right now. The corner of I-5 and 217, the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road. You can see it from I-5, right there in Lake Oswego. We're going to be in the cooler, which is kept at a chill 37 degrees, and we're going to broadcast the entire show from inside the cooler at Jackson's Food Mart. Now, you might ask, why would you do something so ridiculous? Well, we're doing it for a cause, to raise awareness and funds for ALS Northwest. And it's going to be a good time. I'm sure Dwight will complain about it, but it's going to be awesome inside the cooler. And if you stop by and see us at Jackson's, you can stock up on goodies and beverages for the big game. But you can also enter to win Trailblazer tickets. But what I really want you to do is go to our auction page and check out some of the items that we have to bid on. And that way you can take part in something special. All proceeds, every single dime is going to go to benefit ALS Northwest. And it matters to me because I've got friends and people I know who are suffering from it. And also my grandfather, my mom's dad, passed away from ALS. And I saw the suffering that took place, not only for my grandpa, but for my grandma who had to take care of him every day. And that's a full-time job. ALS is no joke. So go to our website, ripcityradio.com. I'm on it right now. If you go to our calendar page, and you'll find on the calendar page an icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Click on that, and then when you get to that page, you'll see bolded out auction items. And if you click on auction items, it will take you to our auction page, and that's where you can bid on the items. And it gives you an opportunity to take part in something really sweet. And we have autographed Trailblazer basketballs. Starting bid for one of those is $75. You can also bid on the Coors Light Silver Seats, where you get 4 tickets to a Trailblazer game this year to sit in the Coors Light Silver Seats. And that's the big cushy seats where you're at your own table, your own area. You got the cold rail technology to keep your beverage cold throughout the game. Also phone chargers. And it'd be a great time if you want to get a group of friends together for a game. You can even split the cost. So you can go and bid on the Coors Light Silver Seats. Autographed Trailblazer pennants starting at $25. You can bid on one of those right now. Also, I love this one. Bid to host the Rip City Drive. How that works is you put in the bid, you win. You get to host the show and determine what content you want to discuss for 3 hours, from 3 to 6. And you could do it for a variety of different reasons. Let's say that you think that I suck and you don't want me to talk for 3 hours. Bid and put your bid in and win, and you can take over the show, which is great. Maybe you've got a business and you want to take 3 hours and spend a small cost for charity to have 3 hours to talk about your business. You could do that. You can also bid to play around a golf with Dwight and I out at Forest Hills Golf Club. Or one of my favorites, you can bid to be a Trailblazer reporter for a day. You'll show up at the game. You'll have a press pass. You will hang out with me at press row. You'll have a chance to watch the game. We'll go down and take part in the post-game press conference. So if you want to do that, bid on being a Trailblazer reporter for a day. Now, maybe you don't want to, but maybe you've got a kid who is into broadcasting or is considering a career in broadcasting. Bid on it, get it, and give it to your son or daughter, and let them come and be a Trailblazer reporter for a day. I think that'd be awesome for a youngster. So this is up right now. Go to our website, ripcityradio.com, calendar page, click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause, and you'll see auction items bolded out. Click on that. It will take you to the auction page. You can bid right now. And we got bids rolling in, but I want you to take part in this. Help support ALS Northwest. That's coming up Friday, a week from tomorrow, over here at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road in Lake Oswego. You can even come in to the cooler during the show and say hi if you want. It's all good. So please take part. Jump on the auction. We need your help. And it gives you a chance to take part in something cool, but most importantly, get something of value in return. Whether it be a basketball, a pennant, the Coors Light Silver Seats for a game, or if you want to take over the show. But that's what I would do. If I was a business owner and I wanted to get the word out about what I do and who I am as a business, buy a show and get 3 hours. That's 3 hours of free advertising where you can talk about whatever you want. Or if you just want to come in and you want to host the show and talk about sports and do it for 3 hours, you can do that. And we'll help assist you in putting the show together. So that's what's going on. Chilling for a Cause, Friday, February 9th at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangor Road right there, I-5-217. You can't miss it. It's right there off the freeway. Just a little bit down from the Trader Joe's, which you can see off the freeway. And there you go. That is that. That's what's going on. I went down to a Power Kia today. I'm down with the electric car. I went into it with the EV9 thinking I wasn't going to be down with the electric car, the full electric. I'm down with it. Charging, recharging is easy. I can't believe how much power they have. Who was I talking to the other day? Yeah, what do you think Henry Ford would think if he were alive and he saw that there were full electric cars? It'd probably blow his mind, like the technology and the way things are going. It reminds me of my Uncle Roy, who was a donut savant. And my Uncle Roy had a donut shop in Ponca City, Oklahoma for 30 years. And he would get up early every morning and make donuts with his bare hands. My dad, when he was in high school, would strap donuts to his bike and deliver donuts to people in town. I mean, that was in the family for years. And the donut shop is still there. It's just under different ownership now. But I remember when Uncle Roy walked into Krispy Kreme for the first time. And, you know, when you walk in, you can see the big donut machine that makes donuts. He stood there with his face pressed up on the glass, just staring at the machine and the donuts popping out. And he was mind blown. He just couldn't believe, like, I can't believe it can do that. I spent 30 years making donuts every morning with my hands and going through the just slaving over all of that. And here's a machine that can do it for you. Like, he thought that was the coolest thing of all time. He's like, they're good, too. So I thought that was pretty neat. All right, here's what we got coming up the rest of the way. Brian Noe is going to stop by at 5:20. We got to talk Super Bowl with him. I want to know get his take on why the 49ers are favored in this game, because that's a little bit troubling to me with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. We'll get his take on Taylor Swift. We'll talk about the coaching hires, all things Super Bowl with Bino coming up at 5:20. And I want to get into Taylor Swift a bit coming up next. If you were at the game last night or watched it and you've got thoughts on how everything played out at Moda Center with Dame's return, you can jump on board, 503-248-0620. And you can hit me up on social media at Chad in Rip City. Also, the YouTube stream is live and popping right now, youtube.com. You can pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620, and you'll find the live links to all of our local shows right there. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, coming up at 5:20.
Hey, Chad. Hey, Chad.
All right, it's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. The Trailblazers spoiled Dames return last night, got the victory 119 to 116. Portland now will move on to Denver. They've got back-to-back games in the Mile High City. First game's coming up tomorrow. Second game on Sunday. Tomorrow we'll kick off game day at 3 with the tip-off at 6 here on 620 Rip City Radio. Elsewhere, both LeBron and Anthony Davis have been ruled out tonight. The Lakers will meet the Celtics. The Seahawks have named Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald their new head coach. That went down yesterday, and today we know who's going to coach the Washington Commanders. They have hired Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who used to be on Pete Carroll's staff in Seattle, as their next head coach. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join us coming up at 5:20 right here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, my good brother, is going to join us coming up in 20 minutes. Got to talk ball with him. Why are the 49ers favored? I want to talk to him about the Lions. We'll get his thoughts on some of the things that went down last weekend on Championship Sunday, and we'll start to take a look at this Super Bowl matchup. I think he's also got a disastrous gambling story where Gambling Noe took it in the shorts this week, so we'll get his thoughts. We'll also have him share that story. That's coming up in 20 minutes. If you want to jump on board and share your thoughts about the experience last night, if you were at the game, if you watched it on TV with Dame's return, I'd love to hear from you. 503-248-0620. Also, a reminder, chilling for a cause. Dwight and I, join us. We're going to be out at the Jackson's Food Mart in Lake Oswego off I-5 and 217, right there on Bangy Road. Chilling for a cause. Will be in the beer cooler for 3 to 6, 3 hours of sports talk inside the cooler, and we're doing it for a good cause. And by the way, the cooler's set at 37 degrees. All proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. If you stop by and say hi, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets. And we've got our auction page up where you can bid on items to help support ALS Northwest. All proceeds will go for ALS Northwest. And if you go to ripcityradio.com, go to our calendar page, click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. And once you go, you'll find the link for our auction items, and you can bid right now. And I just got good word from our promotions director. Susan reached out and said, hey, I asked our friends from Live Nation for something, and they came through with a VIP night out for 4 at RVN Style Resorts Amphitheater. The high bidder can choose one show from these: Doobie Brothers, Sammy Hagar, or Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top. The package will include 4 premium tickets, 1 VIP parking pass, VIP club access, and seat with wait staff. So that's pretty darn good. So that item will be up shortly. So take part in the auction. All proceeds benefit ALS Northwest. But most importantly, stop by and see us next Friday at the Jackson's Food Mart. Pick up some beverages and food, little snackies for the big game on Sunday. You can make fun of the Godfather when he's freezing in the cooler at 37 degrees, and we're going to have a good night. And that's what's going down. So there you go. Those are the particulars. And Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, coming up in about 15 minutes. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. All right, question. Do you have a problem with TV cameras showing Taylor Swift in the suite at the game, rooting on her man Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs? Does that bother you? Like, I really would like to know, is it a problem? Does it irritate you? Do you notice it? Or are you all for it? I guess what I'm trying to figure out, like, are there a lot of people that have an issue with it, or is it being overblown? I mean, I definitely don't buy into the conspiracy that Taylor Swift is a plant by the government and is going to be used with her visibility at the Super Bowl to try and sway voters to Joe Biden. I think that's crazy. I don't buy that at all. And none of it bothers me because I don't care what any celebrity or athlete says about politics. I don't care who they endorse or who they encourage people to vote for. I don't think people are swayed one way or the other when it comes to their vote based on a celebrity athlete or movie star and what they have to say. I don't think people are swayed by that. Why people vote or who they vote for and what issues they support is a very complex issue. But I don't think celebrity can sway adults when it comes to voting. Doesn't register in my brain at all. So I don't buy into the conspiracy. I am going to do my own research and vote based on what is important to me. Celebrity will have no impact on me in that arena. And for me, I'm just into big stories, big headlines. I obviously want to be entertained. The reason why I like big stories and big headlines, I like stuff that's compelling because of the work that I do. And it's nice to have different things to talk about. So I'm fascinated by a variety of different things. And I'm always thinking about things in terms of topics or things that might be good for radio. So that's what I'm always looking for. Big stories, big headlines, drama, entertainment. And I am fascinated by Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I hope Kelce, this is my dream for the Super Bowl. Chiefs win. He drops on one knee after the game and proposes to her. I would like to see if those two could actually break the internet. And I think they have a good chance. And also my guess, I was thinking about this. My guess would be the majority of guys that Taylor has been involved with or even the people she is surrounded with in that stratosphere she's in with business and the industry, the music industry, the celebrity. My guess would be that she's probably around a lot of artificial individuals. You know, people that are kind of fake. She probably has difficulty finding realness around her based on who she is and how big she has become. How would you know who to trust in that type of situation? Like, that would be difficult because everyone's out for their own good and they're looking for the dollar, and she's a mega star. Everyone wants a piece of that. So my guess is she has a hard time finding realness around her. There's probably a lot of artificial individuals. And also with some of the guys that she's dated in the past, I would guess probably a lot of pretentious, douchey types. That's just my guess. I'm not sure, but that would be my guess. You know, when you're around like movie stars or those high-level entertainers, a lot of those people aren't real. Or they don't act real. They're, you know, they got the facade on or whatever. And then all of a sudden in comes Travis Kelce, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a big, brash, wild football player and might be the best to ever play his position. But you can see it with his brother, his family. They're close. They're loud. He and his brother are hilarious. His brother was shirtless in Buffalo outside of the suite, hugging fans, taking pictures, and holding up little girls so they could say hi to Taylor, which is amazing. Like, you can't be sensitive and hang out with that family. That would be my guess. Like, it's all Kelce all the time. That's just the way that family is. Loud, brash, and they're going to be right up on you. Like most families. So I'm fascinated by that. Like, they're so real. Right? So I want to see how that plays out. And I also think that, you know, for Taylor, it was probably nice to have, you know, Kelce pursue her. You know, pursuing her the way he did, not sweating chicks, being cool. I don't know. I like the drama that Swift and Kelce bring surrounding the Chiefs, especially now that they're in the Super Bowl. And they can show Taylor as much as they want. I'm here for it. I would guess she's having fun being at these games and rooting for the Chiefs and getting into football big time for the first time and being with the Kelce family. And then from there, you know, for me, I grew up as a sports fan and I watched a ton of sports, but I was also into the broadcast angle of it because I was fascinated by people that talked about sports on radio and television. And so for me, I've always loved women in sports. I grew up with them. And with many, I wanted to do what they did. They were an inspiration. So for me, growing up, maybe some of you in my age bracket can remember some of these names, but Gail Gardner was one of the pioneers and a terrific female sportscaster. Robin Roberts, Leslie Visser, Jane Kennedy. And I would say for me, Robin Roberts, my favorite on NFL primetime after Jackson and Berman. My four favorite on that show were Berman, Jackson, Robin Roberts, and then Bill Pito. And then after that, I thought Joe Theismann did a heck of a job. The fabulous Sports Babe was the first sports radio host before Rome that blew my mind. And the person that gave me my first break in radio was Pam Atherton, a total pro and a great personality. A little bit later, mid-'90s, Hannah Storm. You know, she's on ESPN now, but back in the day, she was sideline reporter for NBC, NBA on NBC. And so for me with Taylor, you know, I've got a daughter now who's going to be 14 in a couple of weeks. Couldn't have cared less about football before, but now with Taylor at these games, she's taking interest. She knows who Travis Kelce is. She's very aware of Patrick Mahomes. She says the boys at school talk about him all the time. Big topic of conversation amongst the boys at school. But now she wants to sit down and watch the game, and she's asking questions. And I like that. I like that she's taking interest. So give me more Swift and Kelce. And there's nothing wrong with the NFL, which is the best sport, pulling in a ridiculous number. I think, almost 60 million people watch the 49ers and Lions? That's a massive number. But you can have one of the most famous people in the world and football, and it can be good. And we can have that at the Super Bowl, which is terrific. Now, I'm not a fan of her music, but I do respect the grind and how she serves her fans by putting on long and extensive shows. You pay top dollar to go see her, but she delivers. The best part, like I said before, is just having a dialogue, a conversation with my daughter about football, which is nice. So that's pretty cool. But there you go. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I need more time to digest the point spread before I come out with my prediction, but it's just hard for me in my mind to see how the 49ers with Brock Purdy can get over on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I try to keep it simple when I analyze these games. Who's got the best coach, who's got the best quarterback, and who's got the best defense? Well, that's a check mark for the Chiefs in every category. Defense is better. Kyle Shanahan is great, but I think Andy Reid's a better coach right now. And then Patrick Mahomes is better than Brock Purdy. So give me those three elements, and it's hard for me to find a way that the 49ers are going to pull that off. And the big question I have in a close game, and it's almost certainly going to be close, can Brock Purdy produce in that type of situation? I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. He did a great job of being even keel and shaking off a bad first half against Green Bay and a bad first half against Detroit and doing enough to help his team get the wins. Patrick Mahomes is just playing terrific football. And Patrick Mahomes is not making mistakes. I think the last 6 playoff games he's played, no interceptions, 11 touchdowns. He's just a playmaker, but he's also learning to dial it back when he has to based on what he's got to work with in their offense right now and not making the big mistake, not putting his team behind the 8 ball, not taking unnecessary risk. He just does it all. And Andy Reid has done a great job of continuing to coach and giving confidence to those young receivers who struggled throughout the entire year. But look at him now. 3 straight games, Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore. 2 of those games on the road, and they're suddenly playing their best football of the season. And Travis Kelce, who struggled throughout the year, is coming off one of his best games of all time. The great thing about this game is that with the 2 weeks off, it gives the teams a chance to heal up. So we'll get the best from Kelce. Hopefully, Debo will be in a position where he can be at his best. I don't want the game to be marred by availability. I want the best players on the field getting a chance to produce to give us the best game. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. I'll ask him why the 49ers are favored. I want to get his take on that. He's got an awful gambling story. We'll talk with Brian Noe. You got the Rip City Drive on this Thursday. Hope you're enjoying your day. I appreciate your time. Bino! Brian Noe's up next. All right. Super Bowl a week from Sunday. Joining us right now to talk football and all things life from Fox Sports Radio, the one and only Brian Bino, my brother.
Chad Doing, what is going on?
Hey.
Hope you're having a fantastic evening.
Oh, dude, it's so great to hear your voice. I am. Thank you. And the same goes to you. I think we got to start the show with this. The ridiculous text you sent me on your awful gambling story. Gambling, no. You thought it was real, but it turned out to be a dream. What happened?
It was ridiculous, okay? So this was Monday night. I had a couple of just wretched losses, like OKC got me in the first quarter by a point, stuff like that. Gambling Chad can relate to this, you know? And so I'm like, you know what? I do like this line in the Sixers-Blazers game. I'm going to hit it. And I'm going to play it a little bit bigger than I normally would play one. And so I did, and I was just out and about. I didn't check the score before I went to bed. And when I woke up, I checked the score, and I hit my bet. And I'm like, great, awesome. And then I'm out of it, right? And I'm slowly understanding. I'm like, wait a minute. The Sixers scored 100 and some points in the third quarter alone. The Blazers scored 100 and some odd points in the fourth quarter alone. I'm like, it was a dream. That wasn't real when I checked the score. So when I actually woke up and checked the score, I found out I had lost. That's the first time that's ever happened in my life, where I dreamed of winning and didn't realize it was a dream until I woke up. That was bad.
Oh, my goodness. I've had those type of dreams before where I'm hanging out with a certain someone, and it's wonderful. And then I wake up alone, and I'm like, oh, dang it, every single time. I hate that.
Yeah, man, it's it's better than the dreams, the nightmares, I don't know. I don't know what's worse. Is it worse to have a nightmare or a dream that basically turns into a nightmare, right?
That's a great question.
Reality. Yeah.
But you know what's funny? Every time you share one of your gambling nose stories with me, I go back to that time and place where Gambling Chad was alive and well and going crazy. And it is what it is, man. When you dabble in that arena, you're going to experience punk jobs and you're going to get bad beats, and it just comes with the territory. And so every time you share one with me, I'm like, oh, Brian, that's bad. Part of my stomach remembers
stuff
that.
Happens. Yeah, I know. It's because you're gripping. I don't know how the professionals do it, where they're literally just thinking in the moment. They're not reactionary, right? I don't know how you don't feel butterflies. Maybe if you just do it enough and think of it as a business transaction. I don't know. I'm too human and too competitive for it, right? Because you just feel it all over. And, man, it's crazy. It's funny that whenever I share one of my stories, you're like, gosh, I'm so glad I'm not gambling anymore. Why don't I have these stories where you're like, yeah, I kind of miss those days. It says something about me and my stories over here, but I swear they just invent stuff to troll you. I needed one more bucket in an LSU-Alabama game, and they got it, but the ref was like, nope, offensive goaltending. It was in the cylinder, and it clearly wasn't. And you're just like, but no, right? Like stuff like that will happen.
Oh, my gosh, it's so bad. Brian Fox Sports Radio is here. I don't understand the line in the Super Bowl. Why are the 49ers favored of the Chiefs? What's your take on that?
It's a good question because all I see and hear is how much people are betting the Chiefs in this one, There was a little nugget. Let me try to find it for you. Yeah, so this is from BetMGM, and they sent out an email today and said there are 5 times as many bets on the Chiefs money line versus the Niners. So, going back to Gambling Chad days, what does this tell you? It tells you the sharp money, the big money, is more so on the Niners. You might have way more bets on the Chiefs. I could enter in a $20 bet, and somebody else could enter in a $20 bet, and so forth and so on. But one of these big fishes, they put in a ton of cash, and that's why you have the line where it is. I guess it's just, if you look at the Niners top to bottom, it's the better roster. They've got more Pro Bowlers, more All-Pros. All that is in their advantage. And so that's where the line was set, and it looks like the professional money is more so coming in on the Niners, and so that's where the line's going to stay for now.
Yeah, what scares me about this, for those who don't want to see Brock Purdy win a Super Bowl for personal preservation, I look at this line and see, I know how my mind thinks of it. Like if I put on my gambling Chad hat, I look at this and I'm like, there's no way that Brock Purdy can beat Patrick Mahomes. It's not happening. And then you jump on the Chiefs and you feel like you're getting good value, and then you're going to get punked because it's going to go the other way. Because I can't see in my mind, it's hard for me to envision Brock Purdy getting over in this spot against the Chiefs. It's very difficult.
Well, look, man, it's one of these deals where football's the ultimate team game. And if you go back to the game last week where Mahomes was solid, there's no doubt, but look how many things the Ravens did wrong.
Oh, gosh.
Where it was Lamar throwing a pick into triple coverage.
What a throw that was.
It was the interception at the goal line by Zay Flowers. How many immature, dumb penalties did the Ravens commit? So like, you look at all of those things and you say, if they don't do half of those things, the Ravens have more than a chance to win that game. So I hear you, but look at Super Bowl history, right? Like, who's better? Is it Tom Brady or is it Eli Manning? You know, is it Tom Brady or is it Nick Foles? And it's a team game. I think the best example is Super Bowl 42, where that Giants defense was just all over Tom Brady, and the Giants put up enough points to win the game where it could go out like that. It could play out like that where the lesser quarterback is just on the better team, and they commit fewer mistakes. I mean, that's crazy. Where you think about the Niners, they've been sloppy as well in their 2 playoff wins, but they've still committed fewer mistakes than their opponents, and that's been the difference.
That's a great point. That is a terrific point about the mistakes, not the big mistake to kill them. Now, what do the Ravens do moving forward with Lamar Jackson to continue to work with him to get him to that next level? Because I think now the concerns about his playoff production, it's a legitimate conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think the first step is assess what went wrong in the last playoff game. And what really went wrong, they didn't stick with the running game.
Why not, Brian?
Dance with who? I don't know. It makes no sense. The saying is dance with who brung you.
Gosh.
I don't know why the Ravens, they had the #1 rushing attack in the NFL. And they're like, let's not run it. It made no sense. Gus Edwards, his first carry was for 15 yards.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a heavy dose of Gus in that game. He had 3 carries the entire game.
You know, it just surprised me.
It made no sense whatsoever.
Oh, it surprised me because, you know, John Harbaugh, that's a pretty good coaching staff there. It felt to me like they saw Mahomes on that first drive go right down the field, score the touchdown, and I feel like they panicked. And I just couldn't believe, because I thought going in, they have an identity. They know who they are. They're a physical team. They want to run the football, and they're going to win the game playing their style. And they just got away from it so quick, and it played right into the hands of that Chief defense and Steve Spagnuolo. Amazing.
It absolutely did, and I'm still baffled by it. And Todd Monken, he had a great season as the Ravens offensive coordinator. Of course, you know, he's got a great track record in college. And it wasn't at the end of the game where you just look at the box score and say, oh, wow, why didn't they run it more? It was all throughout the game. I'm sitting there like, they got to run it. They have to. That's what their identity is. And they just never established it. And against that defense, too, I'll promise you this. That's one thing the Niners will not do. You're going to get a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, 100%.
There is no way that Kyle Shanahan, right, is just like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot to run the ball against the Chiefs. That will not happen.
We're talking with Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. Speaking of gamblers, Dan Campbell, I mean, what's your take on what he did, his decision-making, which really cost his team the game, in my thoughts?
Yeah, it was just bad. It was. The first one, you kick the field goal, you go up by 3 scores again, right? Like, that's why you took the points before halftime. It was the same scenario, right?
Yeah.
You didn't go for it on 4th down. You kicked the field goal to go up by 17. What changed in the 3rd quarter, right? Like, why? I know it's a shorter field goal before halftime, but it's certainly a makeable field goal in the 3rd quarter. Just go up by 17 again. And I thought The second time, I didn't like it, but I get it. Came back to bite him. What really bothered me was calling timeout when you ran the ball on third down. I'm in the minority here where some people are like, you got to just throw the ball. If you run it, I get it. That's your identity. You want to run it at least one time. But the thing is, even if it takes some time to, get the bodies detangled and all of that, you're better off not calling timeout. You can still go fast. You can go faster than 40 seconds. That's what a timeout saves you. You can't call timeout. You could say they should have thrown the ball, fine. But if you're going to run it, you still can't call timeout. And they did. That was just an awful, awful decision. That was a clinic of what not to do for the Lions in the second half. Fumbles, bad decisions, calling timeout. It was a calamity.
I wanted to ask you, if you were running a football team, how would you utilize analytics? Because you brought up a great point. Before halftime, they were down there at about the 5-yard line. Why not go for it there, too? I mean, you go for it. That's what I understand about these coaches. This is who we are. This is what we do. Well, you didn't do it before halftime, but you did it in that drive in the third quarter. Why? You go off a gut? How would you utilize analytics to help you?
Well, it's I don't know when analytics says, take the points. It almost always feels go for it. It's like analytics is stuck in fifth gear the whole time. That's what it feels like. I look at it like this, Chad. I am not against all things analytics, but I'm going to use it as, information. I'm not going to be beholden to it, and it's we have 0.2% chance better if we go for it to win this game. A lot of it is gut. It isn't just raw numbers, because I think of it like this, Chad. Numbers don't feel, okay? Like human beings do. The numbers might say your chances of winning this game are 4.5% better if you go for it. That's fine. But if you don't get it, it's going to feel way worse than that. Your team is going to feel bad. Think about that stadium. The Niners fans were going crazy after those failed fourth down attempts. Do you think they're going crazy if they make a field goal? There's no way.
No way.
So I look at it like that. I don't just Heisman pose and stiff arm analytics out of my way every single time. But there are times where it's just that number. I'll give you a quick example. There was in the Rams Lions game, okay? The scenario was the Lions had the ball at about their own 30-yard line. They're up by a point midway through the fourth quarter. Analytics said go for it at your own 30 with the lead, okay? They punted it all the way to the Rams' 9-yard line. Not bad. Analytics was your chances are worse now to win. I don't get that. And just think about where you would be as a team, right? You start to panic. You start to question your coach. What are we doing? What are we going for? That crowd is feeling what are we doing? That's why I say numbers can't feel, and that's why I take it into account that they can't, because your players, your crowd, everybody else is going to feel.
I'm with you on that. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. Just like if you kick the field goal in the third and go up by 3 scores, you don't give any life to the 49ers who were lifeless, and I just don't think they win the game if they got to come back from 3 scores at that point. That's just how I see
right. It. Doesn't that just drive you crazy?
It does. It really does.
You can literally think, hey, if Badgley hits what would be roughly a 48-yard field goal, something like that.
Yeah.
We might be preparing for the Super Bowl right now. How crazy is that? But that could literally be the case.
All right, Brock Purdy, what's your take on what you've seen from him through the 2 games so far in the playoffs?
It's been a mixed bag, okay? He made some good plays down the stretch with his legs in that last game against the Lions. He had a great drive at the end of the game against the Packers that they desperately needed. So he's made some good plays, and he's done some good things, but it has been a mixed bag where he was shaky throughout most of that game against the Packers. He didn't have a great game against the Lions either. He had an interception. His passer rating at halftime was like 33 or something like that. An entire half of football, your passer rating should not be in the 30s, you know? So it hasn't been flawless. I think he's got to play better against the Chiefs for them to win the game. But I just don't understand these Brock Purdy fanboys that want to make it sound like he can do no wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying he's got to play better. You're not crushing the guy and withholding all credit in every single turn, you know? I don't know why they take things so personally if you bring up something that's valid. But
Right.
it has been a mixed bag thus far.
Yeah. All right. I don't want your prediction yet because I want to talk to you next week, but just your overall thoughts when you look at the matchup right now with the Chiefs and 49ers. Like, what are some of the things you think? How do you see it so far?
I think that top to bottom, the Niners have more talent. But I think if you go back to the last game in the AFC Championship, the Ravens have more talent top to bottom.
No question.
Than the Chiefs do, right? But it's like, there's that guy, number 15, Mahomes. Like, that was his 6th AFC Championship game out of 6 years as a starting quarterback.
It's crazy.
How insane is that? I think that matters. And when he's on the Super Bowl stage again with Kelsey, when you have Mahomes, Kelsey, a real defense, Andy Reid, I mean, that's a lot right there. That's way more than just having a puncher's chance. And something else I like, you're underdogs again. Like, these teams, these players try to create, no one thinks we can do it, they're counting us out. When you're the underdog, you can literally point to that and say, they don't think we're going to win. And the Chiefs have thrived in that role the last couple of games. So that's how I initially think of it. The Niners have more talent top to bottom. But when you've got Mahomes on the other side, you have to not kill yourself, and you have to step on their throat. And so far in these playoffs, the AFC teams have been unable to do that. I think the Niners have the potential to do it. It's just a matter of can they and will they.
All right. My dream is that the Chiefs win, and then Travis Kelce drops on one knee and proposes to Taylor Swift on the field. How awesome would that be? It would break the internet. No.
Oh, it absolutely would. I saw this. You'd love this. There's a prop bet today where will they announce that, like, she's pregnant? What if we get like a 2-for-1 combo platter? He drops to a knee to propose. She says yes, and they announce that they're expecting their first child, huh?
Gosh, that's amazing.
Can we parlay that, Chad? You know?
I would be willing to jump in on that action. You might be able to pull Gambling Chad out of retirement for that. Like, I'm fascinated by the whole thing. Like, I was laying this thought out earlier today. No, like, I think my guess would be, and I don't know for sure, but like Taylor Swift is in this stratosphere where in her life, in the entertainment world, the music industry and all that, like, she's probably surrounded by a bunch of stiffies, like artificial people that aren't being real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of the guys that she's dated in the past are probably pretentious. And then all of a sudden she shows up and she's hanging out with the Kelsey family, like, like the most real family,
right?
With brothers that joke with each other. Like, you got to have thick skin to be a part of that family. Like, in the way that he pursued her, like, it's probably refreshing for her to deal with like a real deal dude like Travis Kelce. Like, she's got to be enjoying that. I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I can't get enough of it.
I think you're right on the money with that. I like that take.
He doesn't treat her like a China doll. He treats her like a person.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I acknowledge that you're hot, and I know you're extremely talented, but yeah, so what? You're still a person. You know, like, I think she admires that. It's cool.
I think so too. My question is, when does that change? You know? Because it's cool now, and it's a breath of fresh air, and this is different and fun. But at what point does she say, yeah, it would be kind of nice to be treated like a princess also while you're being real, you know? So it could go that way as well.
Could you date someone that was a better sports talk host or more successful in the biz than you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that would be awesome. That's my dream, to wake up, and she's just like, did you see that the Grizzlies knocked off the Cavs? I just be like, How did I find you? You know, that would be my dream come true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or if she woke up, she goes, man, I just checked the scores. Check out this bad beat. And you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, right? Like she's just, I don't know, she like throws something against the wall, and I'm like, what happened? It's like, buzzer beater. I'd be like,
Can you imagine
love
that?
you. Yeah.
You walk out into the living room. She's on the couch looking at her phone. She's like, hey, Brian, what's up with these Purdy fans? They're ridiculous. It's like if you don't say Joe Montana 2.0, they get mad at you.
Oh, man, yes. So to answer your question, I absolutely could sign up for that. I could.
Oh, dude.
No problem. Absolutely.
Well, enjoy your work this weekend. I look forward to hearing you on Fox Sports Radio. And I'll reach out to you because I want to talk to you before the bowl and get your official prediction. And we can talk about some of the prop bets, too.
Absolutely, Chad. I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, look at the books, man. We got to know. I want to know if there's a twofer. Proposal with announcement that they're expecting. That's incredible.
Yeah, with something related to Jason Kelsey, who's shirtless in the background while all of this goes down. Yeah.
What? Could you believe that? He's shirtless. He climbs out of the suite and is taking pictures with people and then holding up girls so they can say hi to Taylor Swift. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
By the way, Chad, real fast, I know you got to run. I'm all about clock integrity, but I saw something about Usher. There's a prop bet, obviously doing the halftime show.
Yeah.
Will he be wearing sunglasses or not? Chad, I'll tell you what. I think I will give up all things gambling forever if Usher is not wearing sunglasses during the halftime show. Like, that's his calling card. Can you envision Usher not wearing sunglasses at all?
He is absolutely wearing sunglasses. 100%.
It's a lock,
in
right?
Las Vegas, there's no way he's going to go out there without shades.
No way. This reminds me of, will the Chili Peppers be shirtless during their set? I'm like, they're the freaking Chili Peppers, of course. I think it's a lock he's wearing sunglasses.
Oh, dude, you're the man, dude. All right, enjoy the week. I'll talk to you next week, man. I can't wait.
All right, Chad Doing. Catch you later, buddy.
There you go. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. We'll come back and put a bow on the program. Big thanks to Brian. 1 week from Sunday, Super Bowl 58 down at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and the 49ers, a slight favorite. Boy, nice work by Oaks pulling out the Johnny Gill. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's head down to Vegas right now. Raider Mike's down there, and everyone's getting ready to roll into town this weekend for Super Bowl week. Let's check in and see what's cracking down there. Raider Mike, what's up, buddy? How's things going down in Vegas?
What's up, my man? Good to hear your voice. Vegas, you can just feel it starting to throb. You know, I've been doing all the Raiders shows since the inception of it. You and Q are boys. Anyway, so I already got an event, Shaq's All-Star Comedy Review at Resorts World. It's like a $150 ticket. Got 2 of them.
Nice.
So if you happen to be Bob down here, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to ask some chick. So anyway, it's I mean all the interviews are all Hall of Famers from the Raiders, and that's not even in next week yet on the nation's radio. So I can't wait. I've never been in a town where the Super Bowl is, for one, let alone my team's stadium, because that trash can by the bay could never have a Super Bowl. Whereas here, I mean, all the hotels, the airports, the freeway system's amazing. So I think this is one of the most cleanest, entertaining Super Bowls ever. Probably get to meet Shaq, get to meet D.L. Hughley, hopefully, maybe Earthquake. And that's just the beginning. That's just one event I got booked. So things are good here, bro. And that victory, we got the best of both worlds. All that love for Dame. I listened to your show last night, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Late. You went late. And then the victory by the Blazers. You couldn't ask for more in that weird situation with Dame coming home. So things are good. I'll be checking in with you all week, giving you updates on the Super Bowl. If I can, I'll get you an interview or two.
Pass them along, my friend. I would love that, buddy.
Anyway, be good, bro. Love the show. Good to hear your voice. Peace.
All right, there you go. Raider Mike down in Vegas. I wish that I could go to Vegas for the Super Bowl, but I've got to be back. I'm hosting the Super Bowl party down at Spirit Mountain Casino. And if you're in the area and you want to go to a great bash, the event center is going to be packed, and it's a great place to watch the game. We'll be doing drawings throughout the course of the game for sports memorabilia. So it's a great way to hang out and watch the game. I'll be down there. If I wasn't going to be down at Spirit Mountain, I would go down. My boy Steve, my best friend, lives down there, and he's on the south end of town. So it's perfect because I fly in, he picks me up, and I can stay and function at his crib, and I can stay off the strip. But if you're going down to the game, the great part about Allegiant Stadium is the access. What they do is they close off the overpass so if you're staying in, let's say, Mandalay Bay or one of the nearby casinos, the two that are really close are like Mandalay, and you got New York there. But you can walk down the strip and then head over the overpass. They got everything closed down, so the access to the stadium is perfect. And it's a beautiful crib. Nice place. That's going to be a good setup for the Super Bowl. And I like the fact that the weather's not going to be a factor, so both these teams are going to be able to get off. Brock Purdy won't have to worry about throwing a wet ball, and the Chiefs can finally play in warm conditions. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a big-time game. All right, big thanks to Mike Oaks for engineering today's program. Props to Brian Noel for stopping by. Chris Burkhardt, and, of course, the voice of Motor Center, Mark Mason. Tomorrow, Justin Myers will have Rip City Mornings at 6. And then I'm back with the Rip City Drive at 3. And then tip-off with the Blazers and Nuggets tomorrow night in Denver's at 6. Here on your home of the Blazers, 620, Rip City Radio. For Mike Oaks, I'm Chad Doing. Catch you tomorrow.